My name's Williamson. I race on the mountain bike, mainly marathon races, and I'd say I mainly do as many stage races as I can. And I've always used Squirt Lube. They were a sponsor of our team when I raced on the road in South Africa and on the mountain bike. My biggest win was last year. I won the Absa Cape Epic. In the same year I won the Mongolian Bike Challenge, and I've also won Joburg to Sea a couple of times and Sani to Sea, a lot of stage races in South Africa. So I live in the northeast of England, and yes, it can be quite wet and muddy. We have some dry times, but if it does rain it stays muddy for a long time. Especially in winter, you can really go through your brake pads in a couple of rides, which people often find quite surprising when I travel away, but it's true. It can be, it's really sticky mud, and that's all year through. So probably the worst conditions I ever rode in was last year. We had one day in the Cape Pioneer, and it was really, really muddy. Everyone was getting really bad chain suck, and I used Squirt Lube, and I didn't have any issues at all. And we ended up doing really well that day. And I've also raced on the other extreme in the dry out in Mongolia for 6 days. No real bike wash facilities, used Squirt Lube every day, never had any chain problems. For stage races, often the cleaning facilities aren't brilliant. Very often at a race you'll just hose your bike down and then you clean it with a rag, and you haven't got a mechanic on hand that'll clean your bike for you and things. But I always make sure that my chain's the one thing that I'll always dry off after the race, clean it, and then I always lube it the night before. And then in the morning I'll always get up, re-lube it again, and then I never have any problems during the race. If it is if it's going to be a muddy race or going through a lot of water, because especially in South Africa there's a lot of river crossings, so I always carry the small bottles with me, and very often you just take them out halfway through the race, re-lube the chain, and it's never have any issues. You always get to the finish. I use the Squirt Lube on my pedals as well, just to keep them so they turn over, so they don't get stiff when especially if it's in really bad conditions. Cleaning the bike in Mongolia, you literally went to the river. You maybe borrowed a brush or got some rags and cleaned the bike, put the bike in the river, and used the water from the river to clean your bike. And that's as clean as the bike got in Mongolia. But I always, as long as the chain was clean and the jockey wheels were clean, they were the main things I like to keep clean. Get them lubed, and the next day you never have rusty chains like some people wear. The next day put a bit more lube on, so it might not look the cleanest bike, but it works.